Okay, so you're thinking about buying in SLO County, San Luis Obispo, Central Coast. Everything you need to know is going to happen tonight. This is everything in the process. So we're going to cover things on how to buy a second home, a vacation rental, or if you're doing a full relocation. We're going to talk about investment properties on California's beautiful Central Coast. So thank you for attending tonight, everyone who is here. And let's get started. So who we are. Okay, so first wanted to introduce myself and who we are. We are the Schwaegerle real estate team. We're a small family-owned and operated boutique brokerage right here on the Central Coast. So right here, this is my wife, Camille, and our 3 children. And then that over there on the right side, that's our team. So we have an executive assistant, transaction coordinator, marketing assistant, and we help people love where they live. That's the mission of the Schwaegerle real estate team. And so we hope that we can find you guys a place to love to live here on the coast. Okay, so what we'll cover today: first, why SLO County? Why would you make a move here? Second, the market snapshot, like what's actually happening in SLO County right now, pricing, inventory, trend direction. 3, communities and lifestyles, like what area fits your goals? What area would be the sweet spot for you and your family's needs? 4, second homes and short-term rental rules, income potential regulations, that kind of thing. 5, financing from out of area, what's different and how to prepare. And that's where we will have Ben share, because he's a lender. And so he can share loan programs. And we may bump him up after the market snapshot so he can jump in and share a little bit earlier because he has to hop off. 6, due diligence essentials, like what the process actually looks like for relocating. And 7, your next steps plus Q&A. Okay, and before we dive in, does anyone want to share a question they have, a burning, itching question, curiosity that we can make sure we cover during our time? Feel free to throw it in the chat, or if you want to share your screen and ask a question in person, we'd be happy to have you do that too. Okay, so let's dive into, so my wife and I, we were transplants too. I'm from NorCal, she's from SoCal. We actually went to Cal Poly and we fell in love first with the Central Coast. We both knew, wow, this place is beautiful. We'd love to make a life happen here. How do you do that? And then we fell in love with each other and we're like, oh, cool. You want to stay here too after college? Awesome. Let's find a way to make it work. And we went into real estate and opened up our own real estate brokerage. So that's it. I grew up in the Bay Area. I saw it develop. It got busier. It was noisy. And the open fields that I used to play in as a kid are now just a bunch of commercial strips, townhomes, and the town has really changed. And so a lot of people are moving out to SLO County and the Central Coast for a different quality of life. My wife, she grew up in Palm Springs, Palm Desert, very hot. You can't really go outside for the majority of the year. So why we love SLO County? It's one of California's best kept secrets. And here it is becoming more and more popular, though, as people are finding out about it. So reasons why: a Gallup study, and Oprah Winfrey has called San Luis Obispo as one of the happiest cities in America. So if you want to be happy, move to a place where they're happy, and you'll see why. There's over 286 days of sunshine annually on the coast. So if you're tired of the weather, if it's too hot, if you're tired of the snow, sunshine annually is a special thing. 286 days. There's over 300 plus wineries throughout SLO County. We have so many wine industry. It's growing and booming in Paso Robles, Edna Valley. People come from all over to visit and taste the wines here. And we are centrally located. 3 hours north, you get to Santa Barbara. 3 hours south, you get to LA. Hour and a half north, you hit Monterey. Hour and a half south, you hit Santa Barbara. So we're really centrally located on the coast, which is great. We have over 80 miles of coastline. So you can go to the beach, and from SLO proper, it's like a 15-minute drive to get to the ocean. It's amazing. And our average year-round temperature, the low is 40 and the high is 75. So a sweet spot, you know, it's not too hot, not too cold. That's the beauty of SLO County. Okay, Now, we're going to hop over to Ben's slides, and I'm going to have Ben share about loan programs. So let's see here. Ben, you want to share?
Sounds great. Absolutely. Thanks, Owen. Yeah, like Owen was saying, it's, and I'm going to jump into a little bit of Owen's pitch here. So Owen, you just stop me as I go. Part of the process, obviously, is to get pre-approved as you start looking for a home. And that's so the last thing you're thinking about while Owen and Camille are showing you property is whether you can afford it or what the payment's going to be. We want to send you out there with confidence. We want you to know what the numbers look like so that you can either shop for your primary, or maybe if it's a vacation home or an investment home. We want you to know what those numbers are prior to you going out and actually looking at the homes. It makes it so that you are focused on the property and not wondering if you can buy it. So that's the first thing, and that's called a pre-approval. And if you want to go to one of the other financing ones, this is just what we're talking about, is we want to make sure that it's not me telling you what you can afford. It's you understanding the numbers and being comfortable with it. My job is not to make you, living on oatmeal and top ramen. My job is to find that happy spot. Maybe your incomes are rising, maybe you're fresh out of school or a new job. And so we want to find that safe spot where, you can afford to get the home you want, but you're not too stressed over the payment. And that's part of the process. So I provide a spreadsheet, make sure you understand the numbers, the process, and make sure that your eyes wide open to the whole lending side of the transaction. As far as down payments, before we lose this slide here, down payments are something depending upon what type of a property you're looking to purchase. You could be, if you've been a service member, there's obviously VA loans where you can do 100% financing. There are other rural loans where you can do 100% financing. And there are also what we call bond loans, such as Cal HFA, which allow you to do 100% financing as well. All of those are options for owner-occupied buying. If you are going to do a second home or a investment purchase, you need to come up with a little bit more down payment, generally a minimum of 15%, but the sweet spot for an investment home is about 25% down, ideally, but you can do less. And the sweet spot for a vacation home is 10% or more. So the more is pretty good on a vacation home. It makes sense. If you can get to 20%, it will really help the interest rate. But those are all programs that we can look at. So down payment varies from 0 down to as little as 15% for an investment property. And if you want to scroll on that one, Owen. This is just talking about what I look at. When I look at your property, we call it the 3 C's. When I look at your application, I call it the 3 C's. We look at your credit, and that is, not just what your score is, but what is your repayment history? Have you established credit? Have you owned a home in the past? All of those things go into your FICO score, your Fair Isaac credit score. And that score gives us part of the picture. The second C is your capacity. And your capacity is your capacity for repayment. And we'll talk about your income if we're doing a program that uses income. We may not need income. Let's say you're buying an investment property. We may do a loan that the property qualifies the loan, such as a loan like a DSCR, where no income is necessary on your side. It's simply the rent against the housing payment and that ratio. And so those are great. And those still price out into the 6s on the interest rate. So they're amazing loans. But we look at your capacity for repayment. And that's based on, obviously, your job history, or it could be, in the case of the DSCR loan, what the rents are on the property. All of those things go into the capacity equation. And the last C is what's called the collateral. And that is the property you're looking at buying. So we want to make sure that it's worth the value that you're paying for it, for the bank. So, and for you want to know that it's worth it. So we look at your credit, your capacity, and the collateral. So those are the 3 C's. That's what we do when we do your financing. So kind of a little game there. I think that's it on this slide.
Okay.
And we just talked about this a little bit. How much do you need for down payment? Yeah, this is 3%. Really, we do a lot of VA on the Central Coast. If any of you are service members and you have your benefit, I do over 100 VA loans a year. It's definitely a focus of my business. So if you are a service member, it's a wonderful benefit from Uncle Sam for your service. And it's Uncle Sam's way of thanking you and the U.S. thanking you. So please let us use that if you were a service member. And then I think that's really down payment. Would you like me to expand? And this is my contact. If you have questions or you want to run scenarios by me, feel free to please drop me an email. You can drop me a text. You can call me. This is my contact. I'd be happy to run through any scenarios with you. I just spoke to some of Owen and Camille's clients earlier today that had put in an offer, but they're using an out-of-town lender. And Owen and Camille have had enough experience that they know that that can be problematic. In a small community like ours, the accountability of all the people in this community really matters. The fact that we all know each other in the real estate industry here really matters. And so it makes sense to get a letter from a local lender. If you don't use me, which I hope you would, please use a local lender. It will really help your chances of obtaining a home. It makes a big difference, and Owen and Camille can elaborate on that with you. But on today's call, I had somebody and they really liked their lender. I'm always happy to help. So what we did is we did an application with them, and I'm going to support their offer, but they're not obligated. You're never obligated to use me. It's always at will. It's my job to earn your business, and I will do that. But I also want you to get a home and get here on the Central Coast. So please feel free to reach out, and I can run the scenarios by with you. We do have the busiest and most experienced office on the Central Coast, and we're very proud of that. Are there any questions through the chat that I can answer?
I'm not seeing any come up. Wait, there's something in there. Okay. A question I have is, what are interest rates right now?
Yeah, excellent question. So rates have been a little bit erratic. Rates are very much tied to inflationary pressure. And namely, the main item that's driving rates right now is oil prices. So with the war in Iran right now, the price of oil is driven up rates a little bit, not as much as you would expect, considering the price of oil has gone up about 70% now since the war began, and yet interest rates have not gone up 70%. They've gone up about 0.3%. So we're still below the mid sixes on a generic owner-occupied 30-year fixed. Figure about 6.25 on a really clean loan. However, before the war, we were touching the high fives. So we're hoping that will go back down, and it is expected to go down as soon as the oil prices go down. So it's all tied together with the war. It sounds kind of trite to talk about oil prices when there's a war going on, but that's for Americans, so that's what we're caring about is our finances at the moment. But that is the impact of the war. So a little bit on the interest rates, but we do expect that to recede with oil prices.
Okay, and then speak to the person who owns a house now and is like relocating here, shopping around. Tell them about like the buy before you sell program.
Yeah, so there's a couple of different options there to go into. If you've got a home and it hasn't sold yet, and let's say that housing expense is a barrier. In other words, your debt to income ratio is too high, carrying both your departing house and the new house you're trying to buy. We have a program where, first of all, we can do bridge financing. So if we wanted to pull some down payment from your departing, we can do that. Second, we have a program where we don't hit you for that departing if you are intending, all you sign is a letter of explanation that you intend to sell the home within the next 12 months. And if you intend to sell your home, then we don't hit you for any of that housing expense on your departing. So even taxes and insurance. So if it's free and clear, we don't even hit you for that. So there are lots of options where you can afford to purchase the new home if you have a plan for selling or renting out your departing.
So let's say you have a house, you own it, free and clear. Its net equity is like $850, something like that. And then they want to buy a new house for like $1.2 million. And you can either make a contingent offer, which has challenges getting accepted. Like I'm writing my offer contingent upon me selling a house. And let's say there's like 3 or 4 offers, it's super competitive. Okay, maybe not the best idea. What would that look like for them? Would they be able to like buy it and use the equity as collateral, or how does that all play out?
Yes, absolutely. If we have time prior to searching, which is again part of the pre-approval, if we're ahead of the game before they identify a home, before a client identifies a home, we could do a home equity line of credit for free on their departing if we have time to do that. And then you just have a home equity line is like a credit card on your house. And you literally would use that for the down payment until you sell the home, and it gets paid off when you sell the home. If you are moving a little bit quicker, and let's say Owen sent you a listing and you are in love with it, and we need to make this happen, we can pull the down payment from your departing house with what's called a bridge loan. So we would likely pull 20% down or thereabouts from your departing house, and the bridge financing is just a loan on the equity from your other house. There are no payments on it. It just accrues until you sell the house you're departing. And the rate on that money is about 8%. It's actually a very simple, easy process. On a small loan, the interest rate won't be a big factor, but the idea is that it buys you a couple of months to sell the departing house.
What about DTI requirements?
It does not count in the DTI, in the debt to income ratio.
So they pull the equity out of this house, use that as your down payment on the next house, and they don't hit you for the DTI on that.
That's correct. Part of that buy before sell program, we could, let's say they have a lot of equity, like you said, let's say they have 850,000. What we may want to do is maximize the size of that bridge loan, because we won't be hitting them for any of that debt on their departing house. That way they can put a larger down payment down on the new house. That could be a way to ensure that they qualify for the new house, depending upon the individual situation. So in other words, putting down 500,000 on the 1-2 house may get them initially a better payment for them to afford while they sell their departing, and we won't hit them for any of that payment on their departing, the bridge loan or their existing loan.
That's really cool.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Yep.
Okay. Another scenario, let's say they own a home, they want to keep it, and they're not ready to like actually buy a second home, or they're not ready to sell that. Maybe they just want to keep it and buy a vacation home. The minimum down for that would be like a 10% vacation home.
Correct. The rates, ironically, on vacation homes, you can do as little as 10%, but over the it's been about 7 or 8 years now, vacation homes are treated a lot like investment homes, and that's because of the advent of Airbnb and short-term rentals, VRBO. And so that you can do 10%, but the pricing is pretty bad on them until you get to 20%. And then ironically, because they're treated so similarly, investment pricing is a little bit better than second home pricing. So it's really interesting that that's the way it's gone, but it's been a total reversal, where second homes used to price as well as owner occupied. Now on jumbo loans, on a higher price home, second homes do still price closer to owner occupied, but on a lower price, on a conforming loan, meaning it conforms to Fannie Mae guidelines, those loans, so generally $1 million and under, they price better as investment.
Okay. And then one other thing is, let's say they're looking to buy maybe an investment property here. Can you use that rental income from the investment to help them qualify for the purchase of that property?
Absolutely. We use 75% of market rents on an investment purchase to offset the housing payment. Further, a very popular loan, and the rate is slightly higher, but there's a type of loan called DSCR that I mentioned, and it's something for investors. We call it an investor's loan. And a DSCR loan stands for debt service coverage ratio. And a DSCR loan is perfect for somebody who may not qualify on paper, or they're hard to paper, but they want to, typically investors, somebody that may own several homes. The rents of the property qualify the loan. And let me explain it another way, a simpler way. If something is renting at $5,000 a month, and the housing expense is $5,000 a month, so principal and interest, taxes and insurance, or it could be an interest-only payment even on these loans. So if it's $5,000 on the housing payment and $5,000 on the rent, it's a 1.0 ratio, or 1-to-1. That would still put you today into the sixes on a DSCR loan.
No way.
And these are amazing loans. So we do not collect any income documentation on these loans, and they're just a really simple way of qualifying. Another product, just to give you another idea for the same, a loan program that you can use on owner-occupied, second home, or investment property would be a bank statement loan. And on a bank statement loan, this is ideal, by the way, for somebody who may be a small business owner or somebody who just doesn't show well. Typically a small business owner takes advantage of every possible deduction. And that's more meaningful. Maybe they're a restaurant owner in town or somebody. And a bank statement loan, typically their cash flow looks a lot better on the bank statements than it does on the tax return, because the tax return has all the write-offs on it. And so a bank statement loan, we take 12 months of their bank statements, and depending upon the program, we just use 50% of the gross deposits on those bank statements. Normally it is way more income than the tax returns could ever provide. And we do that. We do not collect tax returns or other income documentations. It's only bank statements. And those loans are also in the sixes.
Wow.
And you can do that for investment, owner-occupied, or vacation.
That's fascinating. The DSCR is only 1-to-1. It used to be 1.25, I felt like.
Yeah, you can actually even go down to 0.75. So you can even be below 1-to-1. So something that rents for $3,000 and that has a $4,000 housing expense, you
Wow.
can do DSCR on that. The rate is better at 1.0 or higher though.
Okay. Fascinating.
Yeah.
That is really cool to know. All right.
And you qualify on that ratio with the interest-only payment as well.
Wow.
Which makes the ratio even better.
So that's fascinating. Are there any other cool tricks you got up your sleeve, Ben, that you can share with us?
We have lots. I mean, I would tell you to give me a call. You can combine your income with what we call asset depletion. So if you have money in investment accounts or retirement, we can assign an income calculation to those in addition to your regular job or a loan, and that can qualify you. I would say if you are not sure whether you qualify, or even if you think you didn't, lending is not like it used to be. We are very, very creative. We have over 2,100 programs in my arsenal, and it's a really interesting way to look at lending nowadays. So please feel free to reach out, and I'll take a look at you, and we can figure out what's in your best interest.
Awesome, Ben. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and experience with us. We call Ben Lerner the lending wizard of the Central Coast. He pulls a rabbit out of the hat every time. He saves deals for us when an out-of-town lender drops the ball, can't get the deal done. The appraisal didn't go through because the lender was inexperienced, didn't have a handle on the appraisal committee. Ben can help us through those situations. And yeah, it makes a difference. We're under contract today with a deal where there's an out-of-town lender. We tried to get him connected to a local lender.
Yeah.
They didn't go for it. And then the appraisal came back with issues on it. And if it were a local person who understood our market, we could have addressed that. So anyway, it makes a huge difference.
Yeah, agreed. Use a local lender if possible, whether it's me or somebody else. So.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you, Owen. Good luck tonight. Thank
All
you.
right.
Any questions in the chat I need to know about?
I don't see any in the chat. I'll let you know if any do come in, though.
All right. Thank you, Owen.
All right. Take care. All right, y'all. So why people are moving here right now? What is going on in our area? So Central Coast, we have a world-class wine country with 11 plus distinct wine zones, appellations from Paso to Edna, Arroyo Grande, SLO County. We've become globally recognized, and it's right here in our backyard. And then with our Pacific coastline from Avila Beach to Pismo Beach, Montana de Oro, there are year-round ocean access, trails, surfing, and state parks that are world-renowned. It's beautiful places. We are a small town with a big life quality. So they call it the slow life. SLO County, it's a slower pace of life. You know, if it's a 12-minute drive, that's too far. Like, yeah, 12, 13 minutes, that's really pushing it. And that's what it takes to get to places. People just don't like driving very far because everything is so close to home. And so where I grew up in the Bay Area, everything was 30 minutes plus. And so you grew accustomed to it. The average commute time in America is like 48, 58 minutes right now. And in SLO, it's like 12 minutes. So that's the beauty of, you get that quality of life back. Less time in the car, more time with your family, more time enjoying doing what you love doing. Top tier education, we have Cal Poly SLO. It's the premier of the state universities. It's a driver of population growth, of commerce, of talent and culture. They have people come in and perform at the PAC, like great musicians, arts, all kinds of things going on thanks to Cal Poly. And then it's a great place for people to escape from the urban stress. Especially during COVID, we had a lot of people moving here from the Bay Area and LA because they were tired of being locked down in these major metros. All of a sudden, they could work remote, and they called it the Zoom economy, the Zoom town. People started moving here, working for Google, earning Bay Area money, but they could live here on the Central Coast. And that remote work has changed the math with high-speed fiber optics, co-working spaces in the SLO County airport right here, direct flights to LA, SF, Phoenix, and Denver. You don't have to choose between your career and lifestyle. You could have it all. All right, now what's going on in our market? So if you actually look at the data, we just pulled the trends from the MLS. That's the multiple listing source, which 99% of all data comes from there with all the listings selling in our county. Median price for a home is somewhere between $899,000 to $970,000 right now, with a typical days on market of about 29. And we have limited inventory. There are more buyers coming in than there are listings going up. So we have about what's called a 2 months supply of inventory, meaning if there were no new houses listed for sale, we would run out of homes to sell in 2 months. So that's a seller's market. If you have 6 months supply or more, it's considered a buyer's market, and 6 months or less is considered a seller's market. So what we see here on the Central Coast, it's a seller's market. There are parts of the country right now where it's become a buyer's market. They have more inventory. They have more homes to sell than they have buyers interested in it. And yet that's not the case here on the Central Coast. And because of that, we have stable price appreciation thanks to that low supply. And SLO County operates on limited land. A lot of the county is protected open space, agriculture preserves, and a coastal zone. So there is a natural constraint there that is going to drive long-term stability and price appreciation. So unlike speculative markets where you may be buying land in the middle of the valley or some like on the path of development, hopefully they build something here that will one day become valuable. You can actually buy land on the coast that is a limited and very desirable place to be. So SLO County has historically weathered downturns better than most other towns in California. So that's another reason why people love living here. Now, this is an interesting snapshot. I love putting this in here to just share what happened in the last decade and a half. So if you go back to the 1940s, you can see population growth and homes built. And then in the 50s, that was the baby boomer generation. And we had 19 million people born that decade, and we built 21 million new houses. Look what happened each decade since then. We were building 20 plus million housing units, which kept up with the population growth. And we had a boom in the 2000s, 27 million houses built, 32 million babies born. But look what happened in the 2010s. Development just dropped off. We only built, this is nationwide, 6 million housing units when our country grew by 27 million people. That's a lot of household formation going on and not a lot of houses being built. And that's one of the primary factors why prices nationwide have gotten out of control, supply and demand. Not only that, if you think about kind of the prime drivers of real estate prices. It's land, labor, lumber. Land, they're not making any more of it. It's a finite resource, especially on the coast. Lumber, the cost of materials has gone up for everything. With inflation, the cost of nails, steel, siding, asphalt shingle, roof tiles, framing, wood, the lumber costs have gone crazy. Fuel costs are going crazy. Inflation is a very real cost that's baked into the price of new construction. That's why prices continue to climb. And then land, labor, lumber. So labor, the sad reality is there's less and less people going into the contracting services. We have less handymen, tradespeople, electricians, meaning that the demand for them has gone up, meaning the price for the trades has gone up to keep up with it. So those three factors are driving prices up as well. Okay, so here's what you could expect on a community by community basis. Every part of SLO County has its own personality, price point, and lifestyle draw. So we're gonna run through kind of the major towns that we have. So San Luis Obispo City, that's the heartbeat of our county. That's the capital city, and that's where Cal Poly is. And right now, median price range you can expect 900 to 1.4 mil. And what you get there is it's got the urban hub, walkability if you're in the downtown, or there's a lot of newer construction in Rigetti Ranch, Avila Ranch, and then you also get the dining and the arts scene. So it's like the lifestyle. Thursday nights, we have one of the best farmers markets in the country. You have to come visit San Luis Obispo Thursday night farmers market to really see how the community comes together and supports our farmers. And farm to table food is a really big deal. There's a big food scene and people love the outdoor lifestyle. Okay, Paso. Better price point, 600 to 950. It's wine country. It's growing city. It's really booming right now, and it's investment friendly. So it's a great place for rental property. And so my wife and I, we used to live in Paso Robles, and we still have rental property there. We love it as an investment property location. Okay, Arroyo Grande, 850,000 to 1.3 million. And they call Arroyo Grande, Pismo Beach, Shell Beach, Oceano, Grover Beach, they call it the 5 cities because it's like 5 cities that are kind of like, they blend together. Like you're driving on one street, then it's all of a sudden like, welcome to Grover Beach. And then you're driving again, it's like, oh, now you're in Oceano. And then you're driving again, now you're in Arroyo Grande. So it's kind of funny. We call it the 5 cities. And if you're in Arroyo Grande though, you get the charming village. It's a historic downtown, kind of like a cute little quaint town. And then you get out in the country, there's more like land, larger parcels, higher price points, but you get more land, you get that quiet country feel. And it is, I'd say, more of a senior demographic, really large retiree community, and a lot of families as well, versus like SLO is more working class professionals and students. And there are some more family neighborhoods popping up around as well. Okay. Pismo Beach, Shell Beach, $1 million to $2 million. Coastal access here. Vacation rental market is heavily restricted. And so you can do what's called midterm rentals. And if you do a 30-day stay minimum, it's a workaround where you don't need an Airbnb or short-term rental license to do that. So that's a workaround because the process of getting a license can be very challenging in the cities around here. So if you're in the county though, that's much easier to get a license for a vacation rental permit. All right, Cambria, Cayucas, that it's very remote, very quiet. Cayucas has the cutest 4th of July parade. They do a really great fireworks show on the pier at night. Very quiet. Compare that to Pismo. Pismo is loud. There are people from everywhere coming in. And it's a fun vibe, but if you don't like crowds and having a hard time parking, maybe Cayucas would be a better place to go for the 4th of July fireworks show than Pismo. But we've been to both, we love them all, and it is a special time. All right, Atascadero and Templeton. So this is your value play. Atascadero is just about 15-25 minutes north of San Luis Obispo. and the cost there of living is much more affordable, so it's much more attainable. Once you go north of the grade in San Luis Obispo, you all of a sudden open up a lot of value. Somehow the grade, which is, it's called the Cuesta Grade. It's a giant hill. You drive up, and then all of a sudden you're in what's considered North County. It's a mental barrier for a lot of people. They just can't drive past the grade. It's just too far because it's a big hill. And it does take a lot of gas going up a big hill. So anyway, but look at the price points. $650. You can get homes for $600,000 in Atascadero right now. Templeton is going to be a little bit higher value, probably $900 for a home out there. And they do have a better school district though, because keep in mind, the property taxes pay for the local school district. So the higher the property values, the more money they have to invest in the schools. So where the value is as far as like the schools, the higher value properties have more on the assessor roll to pay the schools. And so the schools there are typically better. That's kind of just how the math works out on that. Okay, so then there's Nipomo, Oceano. These are like entry-level markets. Nipomo is one of the best retirement communities in the country. They have the most temperate climate, one of the most temperate climates. It's like 72 almost like year round, just like the perfect kind of sweet spot. And you get access to the dunes from Oceano, which it's one of the last places in California you can drive a vehicle out onto the sand. They don't really allow that in a lot of places because of environmental rules. And they've tried to shut the dunes down before, but they keep it open. And it's kind of a tourist attraction. It's a fun thing to do. You can drive out there, have a bonfire and a campfire right there on the Pacific Ocean. It's a really special, fun activity. Okay, back to Nipomo. There's a lot of nice developments out there. Like there's a really nice Trilogy development. There's a Black Lake community that's like on a golf course. So there are some great lower price point items out there. Oceano, you'll probably be around $550. Some in Nipomo, $550 on the lower end, like condos, townhomes, homes that need work, $800K, and that's kind of your range there. Then there's rural, just the county. If you want acreage, $700K to $2 million plus, like horse property, farms, vineyards, ag preserve, that kind of thing. Okay, which area fits your goals? Well, what are you really looking to do? Is this going to be a weekend retreat for you? A vacation home? Then might work in Pismo, Shell Beach, Cambria, Cayucas, because you'll be close to the coast and you could do some like rent it out when you're not there type thing on like a midterm basis. It's easy to lock and leave, but it's priced at a premium. So you have to have the capacity to take that on. Full relocation, sometimes families, people that want to find that type of community. Arroyo Grande, San Luis Obispo City, Templeton. Those seem to be some top choices for those types of buyers. You get top rated schools, walkable downtowns, community feel, and close to retail and healthcare, which is nice. Remote work, primary home. So SLO City is a great spot for that. Arroyo Grande, Los Osos. That's because you get great internet there, co-working spaces, and airport access, walkability, lifestyle, first living. If you want wine country, investment type property, Paso Robles, Templeton, like the Tin City area is a really vibe. It's a cool vibe. You got to check that out. It's good on the food scene and the beer and wine. Income property, like for cash flow, you may want to consider Paso Robles, Nipomo, Atascadero, because you get better cap rates there. And then acreage, dream property, rural SLO County would be great. Parts of Creston and Santa Margarita could be good for that too. That's for like horse property, small farms and vineyards, that kind of thing. So we ran some numbers through what you could expect for like second homes and short-term rentals. You can just take a look at that. Let's hop on to financing from out of the area. And Ben did cover a lot of this. Investment property, jumbo loans, 1031 exchange. If you're doing an investment property, selling an investment property, you can do a 1031 tax deferred exchange and buy another one local here. And then working with a local lender. We always recommend a local lender like Ben just because we trust them. We know that they can pull it off. And like I've shared, we've had a lot of bad experiences where local lenders have almost cost our clients the house, and we've almost lost the property because the financing fell through at the last minute. But we pivoted to Ben, and he's been able to save the deal. Okay, due diligence. What's different here? So if you're going for like ag properties, two things that will be really different is like a septic system report and a well water report. You want to know, okay, am I on city sewer or septic? Because repair for this, if it's broken, it needs to be updated. It could be like 15 to 50 grand. That's expensive. So we want to know that on the front end. And not all sellers will actually take care of that or do that. And so in that situation, we want to figure it out, and you may have to take on that cost of getting that inspection done during escrow. Well water, same thing. Is there a well? How deep is the well? How many gallons per minute does it pump out? Are we going to run out of water? That's a really real concern. Okay, then fire hazard severity zones. You've probably heard California, fire insurance, wildfires. It's been crazy lately. And insurance premiums have gone up a lot over the last few years. Recently, they've started to moderate and kind of come back down. So that's good news. But we want to make sure we get your fire insurance quotes early in the process. Okay, coastal commission jurisdiction. Are you near the coast? Is there any restrictions on how you can use your property from the coastal commission? HOA restrictions. If you're like in a place with CC&Rs, which stands for covenants, conditions, and restrictions, do they restrict what you can use your property for? Or if you can even short-term rental it out or long-term rental it out. Those are things we look in during our due diligence process. Okay, rural parcels sometimes have the Williamson Act, which restricts development, but it gives you a lower property tax basis. So that can be unique if you're going to preserve the property for ag purposes, and it can help you kind of save on your tax bill, which is great. And rule of thumb, anywhere in California, your property taxes are based upon the purchase price. It's typically 1% of the purchase price. Every county, every city has a variation based on local assessments on their county assessor roll. What I say is, if you're going to do quick math, 1.125% is kind of going to cover you for most of SLO County. There are spots in our county, though, that have special assessments on the tax roll, like the city of Los Osos. They recently added a sewer system, and that assessment is an extra $250 per month on your property tax bill. Yeah, every year up until they pay it off. And it could be a 30-year bond, or it could be just in perpetuity. So you want to check these things. That's why it's so important you have a solid agent who knows the market, who understands what questions to ask and what kinds of things could be coming up. Yes, so great question. I'm just seeing it now about the lots in Los Osos. Okay, Los Osos has had what's called a water moratorium. There's a building moratorium there. So Los Osos doesn't have a lot of water, and the water that they were getting is pretty much allocated to the current number of homes that they have there. They had some issues a few years back where they didn't have a sewer system. Everyone had septic systems. The problem is all the septic lines were leaching into the bay. So Morro Bay, big, beautiful bay, all of a sudden, all this septic sewage is leaching in and turning the bay red and just killing the fish, killing the birds. It was really, really gross. So they said, hey, maybe we should stop leaching everything into the ocean and actually create a sewage plant to process all the sewage waste here instead of like dumping it into the ocean, basically, right? Good idea. So they do that. They built it out. The infrastructure for that project was huge. That's why they've added this special assessment to the county assessor rolls. That's why property taxes for the homes there are more expensive than other places in the county. Now, the vacant land. So because they've had a water moratorium, they haven't issued any new building permits up until recently. So the way it worked was you had to get your vacant lot on the wait list, and there are hundreds of lots now on that wait list, and they're only giving permits for 25 to 50 homes per year. So to actually build in Los Osos, it's a process. One of our clients was number 37 on the wait list. And in order to be able to build on that lot, she needed to offset her water consumption. So let's say the average home uses 250 gallons of water per day between, the bath, the shower, laundry, everything that you do in your home. So let's say 250 gallons per day. Well, she had to offset that amount of water consumption in the grid. And so what we had to do for her, we had to give away 20 low flow washing machines to offset the consumption by 250 gallons per day somewhere in the grid. Crazy, I know. We basically went door knocking, we called neighborhoods, we did a pop-up event at the bargain market, we were handing out flyers. Hey, do you want a free washing machine? Hey, do you want a washing machine? Do you want a washing machine? And we had to go and give out 20 free washing machines in order for our client to be able to reduce the amount of water consumption in order to build a new home. So now she has the water rights to build that new home, but she's still number 37 waiting in line until all 36 people ahead of her build their homes and get the thing going. It's probably going to be another 1 to 2 years before she's even ready to do that. And that being said, those lots are very affordable for a reason. You can also look at lots. There's some in Cayucas, there's some in Cambria, and they're like $10,000, $15,000. Whenever you see something that's too good to be true, it probably is. And you need to ask the question, what's going on here? Why is it? So Seaburn, thank you so much for asking that question. I'm glad you did, because I know a lot of people, when you're just shopping online, you may not understand the gravity of it. But I talk to people who own those lots in Cambria or Los Osos. They bought them 40 years ago, 50 years ago, hoping, praying, I'm going to build my dream home right here in this dirt cheap lot. It's only $5,000 40 years ago. And today, the prices haven't changed that much. They're still selling for $5,000, $10,000 on some of those lots. So make sure you buy a good investment, not a speculative investment. If there's no ability to develop your land, there's no ability for you to add value. And so therefore, it's a huge risk to take on. So that's part of the due diligence process. Those are the types of things that we help guide our clients through. Okay. Thank you for the question. Feel free to drop any more in the chat. I'm here for you. Okay, so if you're curious, here is how it actually works. These are the steps in the process. So number one is set up a discovery call with a great local real estate professional. And that's important because we learn your timeline. We learn your budget. We learn your lifestyle criteria. And then you learn about what the market actually looks like here. And step two, pre-approval. We want to make sure you get pre-approved and know your numbers, because the lender can tell you what you'll need to bring to the closing table. This is all your costs for your down payment and closing costs. And this is what your monthly payment would be. And with those two variables, we now can create a list of homes that fit your budget. So we never want you to fall in love with something that's outside the price range. My dad always says he has champagne tastes and a beer budget. He just doesn't want to pay, but he likes nice things. And don't we all? Wouldn't we all love to go see the very lovely luxury homes? But really, we want to make sure we find you a home that you can comfortably afford. Okay, step three, virtual property tours. So we do video walkthroughs for our clients if they're out of town and trying to shop before they make the move. Or we'll just, when you come to town, we'll schedule a tour day and go see 3, 4, 5 homes. Make sure that we make the most of your time in town, because we know that your time is valuable. And prior to doing any tours, virtual or in person, there is a new nationwide requirement that you have a signed buyer agency agreement. So this is very important. That's why we do that discovery call, because if you're just shopping on Zillow or Realtor or Redfin.com and you click the showing button, I want to see this house, you think you're going to contact the listing agent, but you're not. They're actually selling your data, round robining it off to multiple different agents, and then you're going to start getting cold calls from people who you don't know who they are. You don't know if they have your financial best interest at heart. And they're going to be telling you, okay, great, cool. Hey, before I show you this house, you have to sign this, okay? Great, sign it. And they may not even explain what you're signing. And before you know it, you're going to be locked up with a contract with an agent that you don't even know. And so rather than speed dating your agent, we believe in building that relationship and trust before you get rushed into showing a home that you love and then signing the contract because he was the first guy available. I hope that makes sense. Okay. Step 4, site visit. So when you're ready, we coordinate and focus your time in town, making a short list of your top properties. We check them out. Step 5, we negotiate on properties. So some things we'll do is we vet the listing agent. Are there offers? How many offers are there? Do we need to be at asking, over asking? Where do we need to be to win? So we do all our questions. We even provide you a comparative market analysis report if need be to give us a pricing strategy. And then we represent you throughout the entire time. We're looking out for your best interest, not just the transaction. And then step 6, due diligence period. So we'll guide you through the septic or through the inspections, the septic and well checks, the fire zone, the insurance, and all those questions will help you get answers. We have great local contacts with contractors, vendors like home inspectors, pest inspectors, and we recommend you definitely get a home inspection and a pest inspection done. Now, these are typically buyer paid costs. Sellers don't provide these up front often in our market, so be prepared. It's about $500 for a home inspection. It's about $90 for a pest inspection, and it could definitely be worth your while because we can use that as negotiating fuel to get back some credits and repairs for you. Okay, so close and beyond. We connect you with property managers, contractors, and our local network that you'll need here from day one. Okay, why an independent boutique brokerage, you might ask? Well, boutique brokerage, it makes a difference. So first, there's no franchise pressure. We're not chasing volume targets or split quotas. When you're in a big office or a big brokerage, they're all about numbers because they're all about the profits for their shareholders. They don't really care about their people. And we put our people over our profit because we want to make sure that this is a home you love to live in. And that's really important to us. So we're data backed, not hype driven. So everything we do, we research the market daily. We're actually running real comps. We give you honest assessments. And sometimes we may tell you like, this isn't the right deal. We should keep shopping. We're all about buyer first. So this is your purchase. It's about you. It's about your journey. It's about your dreams of finding a home here. And we're not going to take that lightly. Like, you are the hero in this journey. We're just the guide. We will help you get there, but this is your story. And we're just a part of it to help you get to that next destination. Okay, we've got deep local knowledge. Yes, we came here as transplants, but we've built our lives here. We know the neighborhoods and nuances, the questions to ask before you even write an offer. We've got a network that works for you. Through all of our years in the business, we've been in business now 8 years. We've helped over 300 families buying and selling on the coast. And that type of experience helps our clients get to the closing table. Then there's no pressure, no rush. Our business is built on trust and referrals. Over 55% of our business comes from repeat clients. That's the best compliment anyone can give me is a referral or a review. And we want to make sure that you make the right decision the first time and not make a fast decision that you regret later. Okay, so what out of area buyers are always asking us? Do I need to be there in person to buy? Not necessarily. We've helped people purchase completely remote with video tours, trusted inspectors, clear communication. But a site visit is recommended, especially if we're under contract. I do recommend you come to town to see the house beforehand. But we've had that happen where we had to do video tours and write the offer, get it under contract because we were in a tight timeline. Work started April 19th. That was this month. The client was moving here from Texas. They needed to get in. We got them under contract like May March 15th. We had like a 30-day escrow. It was tight, but we got them in. Is SLO County overpriced right now? Relative to LA and the Bay Area, no. We have definitely seen some price appreciation, but the last 5 years, I mean, COVID was like this huge bump where prices went up like 33% in 2 years. But since then, we've kind of flatlined. And what that means is we've cooled down where that bump is getting caught up, where the last few years has been flat, and it's kind of creating better buying opportunities. What's the rental demand like? It's strong, especially coastal and wine country areas. SLO is a really hot rental market due to Cal Poly. And you could rent it out while you're not using it. That's a question people ask. If you're in the county, it's a lot easier to do short-term rental. If you are in certain cities, they have restrictions on that. Midterm, 30-day stay, that's the workaround on that. How do I compete without being local? So that's the key, right? If you're not familiar with the area, you don't have a local presence, having someone who knows how to play the game, is experienced in offer strategy, a local lender is going to help you for sure win the deal. And then how long does the process take? From initial conversation to actual closing, it depends on your timeline. We've done it in 45 days, or some clients we met with 5-6 years ago still haven't bought a property. So we're never going to pressure you to buy. Our timeline is always going to match your timeline. But whether it's 5 weeks from now or 5 years from now, really, we need to meet to make that game plan to help you get your ducks in a row. So that way you know where you're going and how to make that move. Okay, so here's the roadmap. Schedule a discovery call with us. Hop on to Zoom with us. We could do like a 30-minute consultation, just like a market overview of all the areas you're interested in, walk you through what's happening, what the actual trends are in that specific area and neighborhood. We'll send you our free buyer guide, like everything you need to know about the home buying process in more detail than what we covered tonight. And then we'll get you set up on a custom property search. And that's really fun. We've got access to our multiple listing service here. We can share that with you, get you set up. So you'll be as informed as a realtor, and lifetime data, notifications and updates. And we can even do a market analysis for a specific area, community, or property type. So that's it. Thank you so much for joining us, y'all. Do we have any questions here before we hop off tonight? Awesome. Seaburn, thank you so much for sharing your feedback. Really appreciate it. Glad you could hop on tonight. And yes, we'll be in touch. Anyone else?